Hello, everybody. Welcome in, and thanks so much for joining. We're going to get started in just a second here, but before we do, be sure to let us know where you're tuning in from in the bottom right-hand corner in the chat. We do want to make this webinar as interactive as possible today, so please, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can also leave them in the chat. Another Odooer will be available to assist you. A little bit about myself. My name is Christopher Hermansky. I'm a subscription account manager here at Odoo's office in San Francisco. I work on the North America Direct team, and it's a great job because I get to work with small businesses every day to help them get more value out of their Odoo suite. Today, I'm going to be talking about Odoo's e-learning and survey modules. Now, e-learning is something that was already at the forefront of the education industry even years before the pandemic hit. At the time, however, the rest of the business world hadn't necessarily caught on. And it wasn't until 2020, when the pandemic did hit, that we saw a big spike in demand for e-learning. And the reason for this is because businesses across all industries finally discovered that they have a lot of use for tools like this. Even at Odoo, we began using e-learning a lot internally at the start of 2020. We used it for workforce development, including training for a new position or for a new promotion. Product knowledge. We have a big variety of products here at Odoo, and e-learning is simply the best way to deliver this variety of information to such a large group of people. And localization training. So whether you operate just in your local community or nationally or internationally, the chances are that you're going to have to deal with local laws changing at some point or another is big. And so having an e-learning platform to synchronize your entire team as to what these changes are is super important. Moving on to the survey module, at Odoo, we use this module to generate reporting on customer satisfaction and feedback. We also use it internally to generate reporting on employee preferences, like what the next company outing should be. And then a tool we use a lot is to engage directly with our audience in a live environment is the live survey feature. And we're going to check that out later today as well. So all of these use cases are great, but they're a little bit broad. And so to bring it to a more specific and lower level, I'm going to introduce this guy. Introducing Pedro from Pedro's Pizza and Tap Room. Now, Pedro's a fictional character, but his story is very real. Like many small business owners, Pedro is skilled and passionate in his craft, which coincidentally is not database administration. A couple things to know about Pedro. Number one, he has 25 years experience making delicious pizza dough from scratch. His restaurant's a staple in the community with over 20 rotating beers on tap. However, Pedro has 0 years in database administration experience, and he's a busy man, so he doesn't have much time to learn. Let's talk about a couple of Pedro's needs. It's important to Pedro to keep employees aware of the rotating tap selection. With beers coming and going every single week, it's easy for his employees to lose track of the beers, much less be knowledgeable as to what the ingredients or the alcohol levels or the IBU contents are of any given beer at that time. Pedro needs a platform to synchronize his employees so that they're all aware of what's in the store at any given moment. Additionally, Pedro needs to keep track of recipes and train new employees. Currently, at Pedro's Pizza and Tap Room, training is kind of like a game of telephone, where Pedro explains one thing to an employee who explains it to the next, and before you know it, no one has a solid understanding of the one way to do something. Lastly, Pedro's looking to generate customer feedback. In this post-pandemic age, the restaurant industry has changed a lot, and it's important for Pedro to have an understanding of his customers' experience so he can continue to adjust moving forward. Today, I'm going to take you on a tour of Pedro's database at erpizza-place.odoo.com. We'll check out his e-learning module and see how those configurations on the back end will look on the front end for his employees and his customers. Then we'll check out the survey module to see how Pedro's been able to generate some reporting on his customers' experiences. And finally, I'm going to ask that you engage with the presentation and join us for a game of trivia using Odoo's live survey feature. So make sure you're paying attention because there is going to be a quiz on this. Let's get right into it. Okay, here I am on the homepage of Pedro's database. Now, the first thing that he needed was some sort of front-facing portal that his employees and customers could access. That's where the website comes in. As you may have guessed, Pedro has no previous experience in software development or coding. However, he was pleased to see that he could quickly and easily put together a professional looking website without any of that experience. And then he was set up, and now we have that front facing portal. We can configure all of our e learning stuff from the front facing portal, or we can do it from the back end, which I'm going to show us right now. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click on the e learning module. So if you've ever seen or worked with an Odoo module before, this should already look pretty familiar to you. And that's because all Odoo modules look and behave in a similar way, which is called continuity of use. And basically, it just makes it easier to familiarize yourself with and then to implement new modules in your database. However, if you're like Pedro and you had never seen an Odoo module before, I'm going to spend a couple minutes taking us on a tour of some of these bread and butter features that make up all Odoo databases. Starting with the search bar in the top right, this feature is accompanied by the filter and group by and favorite tools. This is really a powerful feature because if you're like Pedro, in Pedro's case, he's putting out a new beer course every single week. And what he quickly found is things became kind of jumbled up. What he was happy to see is that he could set a favorite filter to go back to, which would filter out all the courses that weren't in this year and group everything by the current month. This allowed him to easily go to this month and select this week's course. All right, now we're on a specific course, and we'll see a couple more of those bread and butter Odoo features. Starting with the breadcrumb trail in the top left. Now, this feature is super important for retracing your steps. Pedro noticed as he continued to navigate through his database that things became kind of convoluted, and the breadcrumb trail was a super easy way to go back to where you were previously. And it typically functions a little bit quicker than your browser's back button, so that's always nice. Another feature to look for are the smart buttons in most Odoo modules. Pedro loves these because they show integrated reporting, such as which of his employees finished the course, attended, or rated the course if he allows it. But it also shows integrated items, such as being able to jump directly to the front end so that you can see exactly what your employees or your customers are going to see when they log into your website. We'll check that out more in a second. The last bread and butter feature that I'm going to cover is the chatter. And this is a super powerful feature in terms of traceability. You can send messages to external followers of the document. You can log notes for internal followers of the document. And you can also schedule activities. Whether you use Odoo's default activities or you create your own custom ones, you can specify the due date, the sensitive date, or you can assign it to another member on your team. And all of this functions to put all of the conversations related to this course traceable and in one place. Okay. Now we have an understanding of some of the general bread and butter features. Now we're going to take a look at some of the specific features to e-learning that made Pedro's life so easy during this implementation. Starting with the 4 tabs that you see on the bottom, you're always going to be shown the content tab by default in e-learning because it's the most relevant information to the module. And what Pedro pretty quickly discovered is that there really weren't any limitations to the kind of content he could create for his students. From infographics, documents, videos, even practice quizzes, he really had all the freedom he needed to create these beer courses. He can set a specific description for this content specifically. He can create external resources if necessary. In this case, he provided the actual beer information from the brewery. He can configure practice quiz questions right here, and there's even a reward system that he can toggle with, but we'll get into that more in a second as well. And finally, there's some statistics that can be generated related to this content specifically. Additionally, he can set a description for the entire course. He has a couple of options available. The one that he was concerned about specifically was having it this course only open to his employees. He's going to have a more sales-centric, customer-facing menu available on his website. However, this course with the more technical aspects of the beer, such as proper serving techniques or the ingredients involved, he wants only to be available to his employees. And finally, there's the Karma tab. Now, this is that reward system that I spoke about earlier. The Karma tool exists in e-learning and a lot of other HR Odoo modules. And really what it is a tool for motivating. It's designed to encourage your students to engage more with the content. While e-learning is great and allows students to access the information when they want and where they want, sometimes actually getting them to do so is a challenge. So Pedro was able to leverage the karma feature by telling his employees that once they get 50 of these karma points, he's going to reward them with a free gift card. And that's how he was able to take advantage of that. All right, that's the bulk of what there is to know about e-learning on the back end. Now let's see how some of these configurations translate to the front end for his employees. So the first thing that they're going to see is the content and the quiz. They can review the documentation provided by Pedro. They'll see the documentation in the middle, the external resources on the left, and when they've reviewed everything and they feel comfortable to move on, they're ready to take their beer test. Now, I've already taken it under this user, but we are going to review the results when we move on to the survey module in just a second. If you have any questions regarding the e-learning module at this time, now's a great time to drop it in the chat because we are going to move on. Okay, here we are in the survey module. Now, survey is a free module because it really is pretty simple. While at the same time, while the e-learning module focuses on content and then examinations, the survey module focuses on examinations and analyzing the results of those examinations. So you'll see that the beer exam exists in the survey module as well, but so does Pedro's customer satisfaction survey. If we check out the beer test real quick, we'll see that the smart buttons show which courses are associated with it, as well as who finished the course. And it looks like only one person has finished it, so this is an indication that maybe Pedro's employees are slacking off a little bit. I can review the answers that this person gave. Looks like I got 100%, so that's great. But I can get even more reporting when I check out Pedro's customer satisfaction survey. I'm just going to go back in the breadcrumb trail like this and check the How Was Your Experience survey. If I click on See Results here, Odoo will produce some pretty colorful graphics for me, or if I'd wish to view them in a data form or in a number format, I can do that as well. And for example, Pedro's already able to get some insightful reporting as to his customers' experience. He would have thought that in this post-pandemic age, more customers were doing takeout or delivery, but based on this reporting, it seems that people are starting to come back outside again, which is pretty exciting. Additionally, it doesn't just have to be multiple choice questions that are in your survey. You can have your customers or all of your users put in their own custom responses. And this allows Pedro to really sift through the responses to find some constructive criticism to move forward from. Okay. That is the bulk of what we're going to cover regarding e-learning and surveys. At this point, we're going to go ahead and start the webinar trivia. So if you could pull out your phone or if you're on your computer and navigate to this tab right here, you can scan the QR code on your screen or input the URL that you see right there, and we'll just give it a couple minutes. And at that point, I'm going to show off the survey live feature and we'll test out the trivia. I believe there's a delay of a couple seconds, so I'll give you guys a couple moments. All right, that's probably enough time. If I navigate back over, you'll see on my screen what it looks like as the session administrator. And it looks like we have 10 attendees, so we'll go ahead and get started in just a moment. Oh, I believe we have 12 attendees, but I think the way that I set it up means that it's not a live. I'm fairly certain my attendees right now are just taking the survey, actually. That's okay. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and move on then. It's unfortunate that we can't check that out, but another time. Oh, yeah, okay, let's check out some results. I'm not sure that we can generate reporting from this yet. I think we should probably just move on. Okay. All right. So that's the story of Pedro. Using Odoo's e-learning and survey modules, Pedro was able to, using the e-learning module, he was able to synchronize up his entire workforce. Now his employees have an understanding of the recipes as well as the different beers that are in the store at any given moment. Additionally, Survey streamlined his feedback, so now he's able to get more constructive criticism from his customer base to improve their experience moving forward. As a result of this, Pedro is able to increase customer satisfaction by 50%, which is awesome. And that's the bulk. That's what we're going to cover regarding e-learning and survey. So again, my name's Christopher Hermansky. If you have any questions that weren't answered throughout this presentation, you can email me at chhe@odoo.com or give me a call at the number that you see below. Please don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring the notifications bell. It really helps us out here at Odoo. And also follow us on all of our other social media accounts. Thanks so much for joining today. We'll see you next time.